Okay, so we are here at Project Eliza. There are a couple of cases that I have to show. So I'm going to show the first three cases. So whether the sentence ends with a question mark, whether it ends with an exclamation point, or whether it ends with anything besides those two. So it's going to open up with, "Hello, my name is Eliza. What is your name?" I'm going to put in my name, which is Josie. It's going to say, "Hello, Josie. Tell me what is on your mind today in one sentence." I'm gonna do a simple, I'm gonna say I like pie. I'm gonna do it with an exclamation point. It's gonna say, "Wow, dramatic. Tell me more about I and pie," which is the first and the last word of the sentence. I'm gonna use a say sentence, but I'm going to do a question mark. So I'm gonna say I like pie, and it's gonna pose me with the question. Are I and pie things you think about? Same thing, using the first and last of a sentence. And now this is be anything besides those those two um, those two things. So I'm gonna say I like pie. Let's do it with a period. Same thing. It's gonna tell me more about I and pie. Let's say if I do it with a weird character. So like I like pie. It's still going to say I and pie. It's not going to count those two little dashes. Alright, so those are the three cases. Now this is if the user decides to exit the program. So if they decide to exit the program, it's going to say goodbye until next time, and the program is going to end. If they say yes, it's going to run them through the program again to see if they, want to start over. So I'm going to start the process again. Let's say, and we're going to say exit. And it's going to ask if I want to run the session again. I can say no, and it'll say goodbye until next time, and it is terminated. I'm going to try again. Josie, exit. And this time I'm going to say yes, and it's going to ask me for my name again, and I can just, continue going through the loop. Alright, so those are all the cases. Now I'm going to run through the code. So here is the prompt bank. This code was provided to us. We just basically had to fill in the blanks. So we have two strings, questions and statements, and I basically just populated the string questions and statements with three because we have three statements and we have three questions. So that's where the three and three comes from. Um, And as far as to get a random statement and to get a random question, I use the math random method, and I multiplied it by the length of the questions and the length of the statements in order to get an int that would stand for random statement and random questions. So now to the main code. So this chatbot, I actually got this from Professor to help me basically get the questions and the answers to display. So in order to continuously like ask the user whether or not what their name is and what's on their mind in one sentence, I created a while loop. And you'll see later on I created another while loop. But the first while loop is to basically get them to say what their name is and what's on their mind. The second while loop is where the majority of the code comes in. So I created an empty string for the user's the sentence. So basically, whatever the user enters after we ask them to tell us what's on their mind. So while the sentence is not exit, because if it's exit, it's going to prompt them for something else, which I'll show later. But yeah, while the sentence is not exit, it's going to basically create a string of that sentence. And for the first and last words of that sentence, I created an empty string as well, which gets populated as the user enters their sentence. Um, so here I have an if else statement. So basically, if the 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 length of the string of the sentence, if it's one, then basically the first word and the last word will be the same because it's only one word. If else, then of course the last word would be the length of the string minus one. So I created basically if else statements as well in order to count for the end the end punctuations of the sentence. So if the character at the end of the sentence is a question mark, it's going to basically replace blank one with the first letter. I mean the first word, and for blank two, which is the last word, in order to basically get the word to not what's the word I'm looking for? The word to not end. Oh crap! I'm sorry. For the word to not um capture the question mark, I just replaced the question mark with a space so that it wouldn't count that as part of the word. Um, the same thing if the character ends with a an exclamation point. I replace that exclamation point again with a um, just an empty space. And here's where it's going to say, wow, dramatic. And then it's going to print them a random statement. This part here was the trickiest part for basically if it ends with anything else besides a question mark or an exclamation point, which is basically a special character, anything that's not alphabet or number. So I all, basically replaced all special characters with an empty space as well. So that ends basically like the inner while loop ends here, and then this is for if if the sentence is exit. So if the sentence is exit, it's going to ask them, do you want to run the session again? And if it says no, it's going to say goodbye until next time and then exit the program. But if it says yes, then it's going to loop all the way back to the top and start the program all over again. And that is the end of Project Eliza.